Hey everybody, welcome to the Trey Angle. My name is Trey Martinez. I'm super excited to be the host and be here in general to be able to give you insights, a lot of tips, and what I call the little angles to help you overcome, help you get that edge in whatever you're doing. And it's not just going to be me, it's going to be a lot of amazing people that I get to have the blessing to speak with and learn from. And I want to be able to share that with you, be able for you to also get these insights and do it in whatever you're doing. Add these different angles into what you do, whether that's business or pleasure. And I'm telling you, we're going to be hearing from a lot of amazing people. And for me, this is a blessing to be able to learn, number one, because I think the learning doesn't end in the classroom. It's every single day what we can do to become better, to serve more. And for me, that's just a blessing to be able to do this and give you that value as well. So again, welcome to the Triangle, and follow on social media, share this with your friends and anybody who you want to become better, who you care for. That's what this is about for us to, as a community, as a collective, to all give more, become more, open up our hearts more, and maybe do something that we're uncomfortable, maybe overcome those fears, or whether that's just something in your personal life or business, just becoming a better person and using these strategies in your life. So again, super blessed to be here. This is Trey from the Trey Angle. Hey everybody, welcome to the Trey Angle. This is my very first episode, and I am blessed, like extremely blessed, for this first guest to be pretty big. He runs the the largest integrative clinic in America he was behind Cleveland Clinic, and he just passed them. His name's Dr. Cheng Ruan. He is a absolute blessing in my life, my family, what he's been doing for people here in the Houston community and honestly all over the world. Him spreading his knowledge on what the power of plants and the power of just true nutrition and functional medicine is to us as a collective. And to see his practice grow, I remember meeting him a couple years ago, and I was blown away. I was like, this is the doctor that I want. This is the doctor I want in my corner. I've been looking for you, and it's been truly a blessing to see and have a front row to what he's been doing. So this is exciting for me because we get to dive a little bit deep into a personal story, what we've seen or what I've seen in my own family, and how he's done a lot of what he's learned and implementing it into my own family's life. My youngest sister, Celeste, and we talk a little bit about that. We talk about CBD, CBG. A lot of people have heard of those terms, and literally talking about some clinical data, some stuff that he's seeing in his practice, and including that obviously into this podcast. And then we talk a little bit about nutrition. We talk obviously a lot of different things, and I know you're going to learn a lot because I learn every single time I'm around him. To be honest, whenever I was just speaking with him and we're kind of going through the podcast, oh my gosh, I was just like, man, just continue talking and I'm going to listen. And it's seriously, there's so much you can learn from him. I know he's going to be on again because, again, he just has so much to give. So really, I mean, if you're a note taker, take some notes. If not, I mean, seriously, like maybe you have to play this again once or twice because it is that good. And I know, again, you're going to get a lot of value from him. And I'll have some more information in the show notes where to follow him on social media. I mean, if you're in Houston or if you're if you're willing to come see him, how you can come see him and his practice, see what he's doing, literally go into the clinic, take some different master classes, maybe see a one-on-one with one of the nurse practitioners or whatever they may look like. But anyway, I mean, if this is something that you're enjoying this episode, you should absolutely see him. So anyway, with that, I'm super excited. This is going to be a really, really fun episode, and I'm grateful for it to be my first one. So with that, here we go. So I was just a part of your brain train class.
Yeah, training the brain.
Yeah. And completely blew my mind.
What blew your mind about the class?
What's that map called?
The brain map?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's called a neuroscan. Basically what we do is we look at people's brain patterns and we map it out. Mm-hmm. And we can map out people's brain in different states of mind. We call it the frequencies, right? So they're in lower frequencies. That means they're in that meditative state, maybe sleep waves, calm waves, and the higher frequencies, more agitated, more focus and concentration. And each of the frequencies, we can actually see what people are doing, whether they're being efficient or not in their brain activity. And so that's a cool technology that we have.
Yeah, so it was cool to obviously see my sister in there and how that whole story has came about.
Yeah. Let's talk about your sister for a second. What did she go through?
Man, she just started off. We thought it was from a relationship and just bad relation.
Right.
It ended. She's in a depressed state, but it just kept on spiraling from there,
Right.
and we didn't know what to do. I mean, we saw cuts on her wrists, and she's locking
Right.
herself in her room, and we just, I mean, it just got into a dark spot. And tried therapy, tried this, and I don't know why you weren't the first option, but anyway, you're the best option, obviously, and we got her to come see you.
Well, what's interesting about your sister is that when we scanned her brain, I mean, her brain looked like she had like Alzheimer's dementia. It was crazy.
Yeah, seeing it today after seeing a couple other, I mean, I don't know why, it just hit me the most looking at that.
Right. So basically, what we saw in the brain scan is that her brain has so many areas that were abnormal. There were actually no normal areas.
No.
In any of the frequencies that we saw. And it was kind of shocking seeing that, but it's also very empowering. And what's empowering about it is that we saw so much wrong. I was so excited to correct it.
And even for her, it was empowering. I remember her talking to us about not even the scam, but just saying, it wasn't just her. It wasn't like she was, just, it was almost curable. I mean, it gave her so much hope.
And well, first of all, she's cured now. So,
yeah, absolutely.
So fast forward a few months. Fast forward 5 months, 4 or 5 months, she's perfectly fine now. She went from making terrible grades into making A's and B's and stuff like that.
Yeah, I mean,
crazy, right? And
in college, got a job.
Yeah, isn't that crazy? So very proud of her that she graduated high school, college, job, and everything like that. But it didn't take very long. And so she went through this serious depression, and she said she was almost like possessed, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and she actually turned out to have autoimmune disorder called Celiac Disease, and generally that usually means that you have issues in the gut, but she didn't really have any gut issues. But it's basically a severe allergy to gluten, and she had what's called gluten-induced psychosis syndrome. It's pretty rare. But what happens is that your body produces autoimmune antibodies, basically like a defensive line mechanism against something that comes into the body. And that worsens the brain dramatically, and that's what created this type of we'll call it inflammatory physiology that's going on in the brain. But the question is how do we reverse it? Right. So we clean up our diet. That's number one.
Right. So I'm curious. In your class that we was just a part of, you were talking about the different levels where you can start. Number one being stress. Number two was
basically it's not levels per se. It's what are the priorities, right? So de-stressing is the number one priority way before we even talk about eating.
That was interesting.
And the reason is because when you're in a stressful state, because we're animals that's descendants from other humans thousands of years ago who had a very robust stress response to escape these stressors. It could be a tiger, it could be illness and stuff like that, right? But when the stressor goes away, our stress response is supposed to come down. Fast forward, right now we're in 2019, most of our stressors are relationships, our lives, our jobs, and all the stuff like that.
Right.
And these stressors create a hormone disruption pattern, and the hormone disruption pattern creates entire downstream effect, meaning that the hormones inhibit the activation of certain micronutrients and minerals, and your body literally can't use the nutrients that you eat, and then your body starts attacking itself. We call this autoimmunity, right? And so the stress responses should be the number one thing to address. And it's not as easy as taking, I'm going to take an antidepressant, I'm going to take a mood stabilizer to be better. That actually makes it worse for a lot of people.
So I like to butt in here because what we saw huge with Celeste, obviously changing up her diet and her gut, but CBD, hemp oil, CBG. Is this a huge thing that you now see for stress?
So I want to get into that a bit because when people think CBD, I think the first people think of marijuana and stuff like that, right? So first of all, CBD is just one phytonutrient component of a plant.
Right.
It's like saying, the blueberries help her. Yeah, blueberries going to help her.
Yeah.
Most people know that blueberries are healthy. They have no idea why. Right?
Right.
Most people know that kale is healthy, but they have no idea. Well, they accept it, right? CBD is from cannabis sativa, and it's from industrial hemp. And CBD is healthy because it's one of the phytonutrient components that are within it. There's nothing mysterious about the dang thing.
Right. It's just a plant.
Right. It's but it's a very powerful plant, just like other plants. But the power behind the plant is that it's able to access pathways that we previously didn't know about before 1989. Okay, and they affect the brain, affect your immune system, everything like that. So for your sister, for Celeste, she had a lot of benefit from it, a lot of stabilization from her entire body, because it's able to activate these cannabinoid receptors that modulate every portion of the body, right? And so, so that's one part of it, right? CBD is one part of it. Another part is the dietary change, de-stressing, and relationship with you and the family, and having that support structure. I think those are all very important things. But I do want people to recognize that CBD is a food. It's not a drug. I mean, it is a drug in some sense. If it's the isolate, or even in Europe they have Sativex, which is another medication they use for multiple sclerosis. In the U.S. they have one that's used for childhood seizures. So the components within the plant are actually used as a drug, right? But the actual CBD, which is cannabidiol, is one of the components that's in the hemp plant that activates the cannabinoid receptors in the body, which balances every system that we know of: your immune system, your digestive tract, your brain, your heart rates,
right?
Your sympathetic or parasympathetic, basically fight or flight versus rest and digest, is able to moderate all that. But understand that this is like a food that should be consumed to do so. So we know that blueberries are good for us for some reason. We know that kale is good for some reason. We know that CBD and hemp is good for us for some reason, and I think people should just accept it as a plant that it really is. And of course, CBD is very different from just actual marijuana, which high amounts of THC, which makes the high component. So the CBD does not have a psychoactive or psychogenic component to it as well, right?
Right.
And then there's other cannabinoids, CBG, CBN, CBC, all these things that start with CB are cannabinoids.
Right.
And the other cannabinoids in there, plus the other ingredients in the actual plant, actually make an entourage effect, which basically
terpenes
means,
and stuff.
Together they make a very awesome combination of things that balance the body. I'm going to relate that to caffeine for a second.
As I'm drinking some.
As you're sipping on some coffee.
Yeah.
We know that when you take caffeine out of the plant and you put it into something like Coke, you put it into something like
energy drink,
medications for migraines, it has a crazy effect. Caffeine has a crazy effect that can be damaging to the brain. When caffeine's actually within the natural component of like coffee or tea, it has other things that balance it out, like L-theanine and other polyphenols that actually balance it out.
Like the entourage effect.
Like the entourage effect of something like a hemp plant. You have CBD that's balanced with terpenes, that's balanced with terpenoids, the balance of phytonutrients in the plant.
Yeah, that was interesting. You even said in the class how you take one thing out and it completely messes with this whole cycle here.
You take one thing out, you mess with the entire cellular metabolism cycle. So caffeine by itself, when taken out damages the brain, but if it's left in the actual component of the original plant, whether it's coffee or tea or something like that, it has an entourage effect. And the entourage effect is actually very beneficial. There's multiple studies in the Journal of Alzheimer's, Journal of Neurobehavioral Research that show that caffeine is protective towards memory loss, because it's able to activate these cyclic GMP pathways and all the stuff like that. That's part of a process of memory creation and detoxification in the brain.
And going, again, back to my sister, it's nuts. I don't even know if I've told you this. After, now she's doing amazing. We talk about those times whenever she was really in that dark space. And if you asked her certain experiences, she doesn't remember them. Yeah. She was like completely unaware of them.
Well, she wasn't creating memory at the time. I told you, her brain looked like it had Alzheimer's disease, and now it looks completely normal on the brain scan.
Yeah.
Like completely normal.
Yeah.
Better than mine, actually. I'm kind of jealous.
But she was
not. You're still working on yours. She's not Your sister was not aware of the things that were surrounding her.
Yeah.
She was in a reactive world, reacting to the emotions that she was perceiving from triggers. And the triggers can be anything, and she can have a negative reaction towards it.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people actually function this way, especially if they have a poor diet. They're actually
Function in what way?
Oh,
Like they're triggers?
Like everything's a trigger, and it somehow is negative. I mean, we all know negative people, right?
Right.
There's people who just think very negatively. There's maybe some kind of neuroinflammation going on. So the one thing that I want to challenge people is that if you're eating a meal, and you get this food coma effect, where you just want to go to sleep, that's inflammation. That's brain inflammation. Whatever you ate just created lots of inflammation.
It's a sign.
Yeah. So there's foods that you eat that makes you feel fantastic. You know? So you know exactly what those foods are, and if you're listening to this or you're watching this, you're thinking of, okay, well it's this food, right? But there's foods that make you feel absolutely fantastic. You know, if I do like dark color berries with purple cabbage and cauliflower, I can eat a bunch of it. I feel like $1 million, and I can go work out and have an awesome workout.
Yeah. Hey, by the way, that was awesome what you said on just the post-workout of having berries, how good that is for you, the recovery of it. Like, that was amazing to learn.
Yeah, because you're getting you're getting the entourage effect. You can create an entourage effect in your body by incorporating all the colors.
Huh.
Just like going back to CBD, right? So there's entourage effect in the cannabis, sativa, and industrial hemp that's balanced the body. Going back into coffee with caffeine and L-theanine balancing each other out, they're the counterbalance, the yin and the yang. You can create that balance for your body in like 24 hours.
Wow.
Get all the colors in and see how you feel. You're going to activate different components of your brain. Your inflammations come down. It's a miraculous difference, and you'll be so surprised how quick something like that is. And so when we talk about stuff like CBD, people think, oh, it's like the wonder drug.
Right.
Well, so are blueberries, and so
really?
is kale, and all those things are components of what
Superfoods.
we need. These are the superfoods, and hemp and hemp seeds, it's definitely considered superfood, right?
Yeah.
And so it contains so many components within it that helps the balance of the body. But CBD has an emotional attachment to it because of where it came from.
For sure.
Right. But people have to recognize it for what it is. Hemp is a superfood. If you see it like a blueberry, you'll understand. If you see it like marijuana, you will not understand. Correct?
Yeah, absolutely.
And that's
the stigma
attitude.
of it has just completely ruined the plant for so long.
And that's the attitude that really should be addressed as a standard in the world. And I think, the world is coming to that realization, 2019, very, very fast.
Right.
You were just in Japan, right?
Yep.
How do they receive hemp over there?
Oh, they are stoked about it.
Yeah, Japan is very stoked because there's so much data behind.
Yeah. And then spiritually.
Yeah, spiritually,
It's
absolutely.
big.
So we know, even, we put people on the brain scan here. And, your sister came here before we started the studies. I wish I can scan her brain now.
Right.
But we started some studies looking at the way the hemp is able to alter different brain states, not in a bad way, but in a good way. It's able to get people from this low to high beta, which is basically hyperfocus or something. This is where ADHD happens, like squirrel,
Yeah.
And it's able to people are able to come down into the low alpha waves like so quickly, okay, with CBD. With
certain CBDs,
certain CBDs, right? Some
just like berries.
Some are worse than others. Yeah. Some berries. Yeah, darker the berry, sweeter the juice. Right.
Yep.
The more robust a cannabinoid component is, the better effects it has. And we're able to see that you don't really need a THC, which is the psychoactive component in the hemp, to have really calm balancing effect for the body. And we're also seeing that not only can people go into this calm phase, they have the ability to focus much faster if they actually need to focus. So we call hemp the ultimate adaptogen. Your body is able to adapt to biological, physical, and mental stress significantly better than before. And that's what we see on the actual brain scans.
Wow.
And we're seeing cognition and dementia markers improve, which is really, really crazy to me.
Wow.
We're seeing generalized anxiety. We're seeing sexual dysfunction and libido markers improve. And the quality of life studies, meaning that people are actually feeling better on it. Right now we're in the 4th month, but we carried it out to 3 months. We're seeing benefit from it. And so it's not a wonder why your sister responded so well to the hemp to help the balance of your mind, but it's not just all about the hemp, obviously.
Right.
There's lifestyle, there's meditation, there's mindfulness, there's eating the right foods. But as a general thing, overall, it's lifestyle. But if the foods that you eat, including hemp, including blueberries, including cabbage, and including all these different things in here, celery, all those foods are designed to create the entourage effect in the body for brain to optimize, and that can be the root cure for a lot of different diseases, ADHD, dementia, anxiety. It can even help autoimmune disease. But in talking about mental health, specifically, I don't think there should be a distinction between mental health and physical health. I really don't. And because
mind-body connection.
Well, yeah, your mind is the gateway for everything that goes wrong with your body. I mean, if you're eating something, if you're experiencing something, you get fatigued, and your gut doesn't feel good. Or I can tell you bad news, your gut doesn't feel good, which means that I can tell you bad news and it affects your digestion.
Wow.
If you think about it. If you're in a hurry in the morning time and you're like, go, I just want to stuff some food into my belly, your body's not ready to receive the food.
Wow.
Right? So there is a huge mind-body connection. Your mind actually also controls your gut microbiome. So bacteria in your gut is controlled by your mind, and vice versa as well. So your bacteria can actually shift. Your bacterial cultures in your gut can shift, because bacteria is good for you. It's supposed to be good for you. But when you're under a heavy, repeated stress all the time, it's not good for you. And then when you challenge your body with food during stress, all right, it's not going to do you any favors also.
So, okay. Say that one more time.
If you are eating and you're under a stressful situation, basically you're in the sympathetic phase of fight or flight situation, your body is not ready to receive food.
So you should just
your
wait.
Digestion can be impaired. You develop food allergies, food intolerances. That's why people say, I bloat all the time when I eat stuff. Well, how fast are you eating it, right? And then it's not just about the actual food content. It's about the way in which you ingest the food. Right?
Yeah, people, instead of just getting a meal just to get a meal in.
Right, so there's a mindfulness that comes with eating too, and it's called mindful eating. So think about the food, think about the colors of the food. How did the food get its color? What is the taste of the food like before you put it into your mouth? And then, as I'm talking about, I'm salivating. The salivation process is your parasympathetic kicking in, ready for the food ingestion, and your brain can't tell a difference whether you're eating the food or you're just thinking about it, right?
Something you were saying in the class was, if you aren't, then you're basically just... how'd you put it?
I call it raping your body with food. And the reason I say raping your body with food is because, let's talk about sex for a second, right? So if you are not in the mood, especially if you're a female, and you are forced to have sex, it's not a pleasant experience. It's a traumatic experience, right? Well, if your body's not able to receive food and you're stuffing your body with food, your brain received a very similar type of trauma. Wow. And so does your body, because you don't have the necessary digestive enzymes to digest the food, because your brain has not told your body to make digestive enzymes because you're under stress. You're in the fight or flight. It's like you trying to run away from a tiger and stuffing yourself with a donut at the same time. It makes no sense. Our bodies aren't designed for that.
Right.
But if you're in a hurry in the morning, you're trying to get your kids to school, you're going in the van or the SUV, and then the kids are yelling in the back, and you're trying to drink a smoothie, you're basically just raping your body with that smoothie, because you have not initiated a process of digestion prior to consumption.
So I'm thinking of like, okay, I'm listening to this. What do I take away? Number one is...
But here's the thing. That causes attention deficit. That causes depression. That causes anxiety. It significantly makes it worse. So your takeaway is that stress reduction is always numero uno. Prior to going on some fad diets, even before talking about like CBD and stuff like that, right?
Yeah, for sure.
Even before talking about blueberries, I was like, let's talk about just stress reduction for instance. Look at all the triggers that come into your body. Decrease your emotional response to triggers, right? Now, food can actually help with that. If you take CBD, if you eat plants, it can actually help with that, but it's not the end all be all.
Right.
It's a mindfulness and a decision-making process.
Okay.
Intention. You start every day with intention. If you intend to do well, if you intend to improve, if you intend to do one thing over another, then your intention has to be there, and then your intention has to carry with it a mindfulness into a state of calm for mental health to be improved.
So intention. What else can we do to lower that stress?
Deep breathing exercises by expanding your belly. The more you expand your belly, we call it soft belly breathing. The more you expand your belly, basically take a deep breath in through your nose, expand your belly, and out. As you expand your belly, you're actually drawing air into the lower part of your lungs. So your lower part of your lungs open up. And most people kind of hold their breaths throughout the most of the day because they're always in that fight or flight anxiety state. So
I've noticed that before.
Yeah, right? Yeah. So especially like for me, I do public speaking. The whole time I'm public speaking, I'm not taking deep breaths. The whole time I'm on this podcast, I'm not taking deep breaths. When I take a deep breath, like in and out, all of a sudden that relaxation occurs because it tells your body, it activates that parasympathetic system. Now I'm going to talk a little bit slower, right?
It's like you tell your brain that, hey, I'm good. I'm not getting chased. I'm not, in that fight or flight.
And some people will get a little flush in their face because their nitric oxide is working so they can dilate their capillaries so they can perfuse the skin. And as you perfuse the skin, you're also perfusing your brain, your organs, your heart, your lung, your liver. And so those deep breaths are exceptionally important, and they're also changing your genetic expression as well. Deep breath, mindfulness meditation changes the way your genes are expressed. That's how powerful something like that is.
Wow. That was mind-blowing how you can have, you can be born with the DNA that you have, but it can be expressed differently through what you eat, what you do on a day-to-day basis. Like, that is unbelievable.
You can turn on and off genes on a daily basis.
Yeah, they can be affected negatively by what you eat, by what you do. Yeah. And I guess whenever I thought of DNA and being, learning that in school, I was like, okay, this is who I am. This is who I am.
Nah.
Yeah. Like, obviously, you can make changes, but it's just crazy to know that your DNA can be expressed. Like, I don't know. It was interesting.
Yeah, man. I'm telling you, it's like that is the first step. It's a first step towards the healing side. Activating your intention for a design purpose. Okay, mm-hmm. And I do mean a design purpose. You design your purpose and design your outcomes. Mm-hmm. We all have the ability to design our final outcome. That's why, everyone who's successful in entrepreneurs that talk about the power of thinking big. Yeah, you got to think big. You got to think 10x to where you want to be, right? And to get to a state where you think that you know that you can actually get there, and you're living every day as if you're already there. And that's how you develop a mindset where your genes actually change to help you. Technically, your gene doesn't change, but your genes can be expressed differently to actually help you get there. Mm-hmm. Nutrient absorptions, methylation, basically it's how we detox our damaged DNAs and turn on and off genes. That's called methylation, acetylation. Mm-hmm. The way that your genes unravel through these balls called histones that unravel your DNA. So all these things can be actually changed, and you can actually see that in blood work. We can look at people with autoimmune disease who developed attacks towards their own DNA, and we can see those levels start dropping after mindfulness and meditation exercises. It's very profound.
Wow.
And it's very evident.
Why do you think scientific. That is? Why? Why do you think, you were talking about this mindful meditation, why do you think that I don't know. Not the scientific side, I want to know personally, you see this and you see these changes going on, and, sitting in this class, someone was like, it's unbelievable. You see this person and you're just like, come on out. And it's just like, wow, that is different. Powerful.
Let me tell you why this happens. We as humans are designed to create. Mm-hmm. That's the difference between us and everyone else. Creativity requires us to remember things. It requires us to develop emotion towards things. The creation can be very beautiful, but can be very destructive towards our mindset as well. If we allow creativity to be down-regulated, meaning decrease, and we ultimately live life in this circle of demand where we're just demand. You're just like, right?
Yep. To-do lists and emails, notifications.
Right. So if you take college or high school courses, you'll know that there's something called junk DNA, where most of our DNA is called junk DNA, except it's not junk DNA. Those DNAs that's considered junk DNA, that scientists call it, that doesn't do anything for us, they actually do things that we don't even know about. They can modulate your active DNA they can turn into active DNA.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
How?
And those junk DNAs probably contain genetic material of all our ancestral lines, right? We're inheriting the ability to do something from the ancestral line. I mean, what do you think like companies like 23andMe is able to trace your ancestral line? They're looking at something within your genome that traces you back. And people think, oh, it's just really cool to look at your ancestry. Well, but you're actually inheriting a whole line of different characteristics that we cannot quantify and identify at this present state. So
mind-blowing.
It's not that you're just changing your genetic sequences. Whenever you go through mindfulness meditation and tap into your own self and mind, you can actually channel all the power of the ancestors, okay, through your DNA expression.
That sounds amazing.
That's what I think really happens. And scientifically, that actually makes sense. I mean, if you look at Holocaust survivors, their grandchildren have huge, robust reaction times compared to the normal population. And not just Holocaust survivors, but other war-torn countries. You can inherit people's stress response towards loud noises, towards the smell of burning, okay? And these are all inherited traumas that people have developed. But you're seeing these in the grandchildren. So if you look at, there's a study that's done in mice. If you give mice lavender to smell and you shock them, their grand litters actually will get a really hyperacute response. It was called a cortisol response, stress response, to the lavender smell, even though the grand litter's never been shocked before.
Wow.
So these are called inherited traumas.
So, okay, how would someone figure that out?
Well, you don't have to. That's the best part. You don't have to figure it out. All you have to do is understand that everything about your life can be changed. Like now. Everything that you perceive can be changed. It starts with forgiveness for mainly yourself. And it starts with understanding why you are the way you are based on your experiences. And, people may have the same trigger, but they can develop different emotional responses to it, right? And that's the beauty. Going back to CBD, that's the beauty about, like, CBD, is that it puts you into this alpha brainwave that we see on the brain EEG. So you're able to tap into that mindset if you want to, We find the same thing with like magnesium L-threonine. We find the same thing with valerian root, ashwagandha, very similar things. And guess what? They also activate cannabinoid receptors.
Oh, wow.
Curcumin also activates cannabinoid receptors. And so that's the beauty about, looking at something like CBD, looking at something like all these phytonutrients we're talking about. So you don't have to figure out exactly what's going on with you. You just have to figure out that you've developed some emotional connection to a trigger from you a long time ago, that you are able to forgive whoever it is that caused you any harm and forgive yourself. That is the true essence of healing. Whenever we take people on, like, who have cancer, on their cancer journey, we start with mindfulness meditation, trying to figure out.
So is that what you're going through that?
Yeah, our cancer training, it's the same thing. Same thing with the brain training. Most in autoimmune, most of these chronic diseases, we have to unravel what's going on in our DNA. We're trying to change genetic expression before we do a dang thing in medicine.
Yep. Wow.
And so that's what's truly powerful about it.
Wow, that's amazing.
Yep.
There we go. What is this called?
What's what called?
That whole sequence of events.
Epigenetics.
Epigenetics.
Yeah.
Well, there we go.
There you go. Epigenetics.
Awesome.
Cool, man.
That's
30 minutes. We don't have time for another one, but maybe we'll come back to it. But thanks a lot, Trey, for sharing the story of your sister.
Thank you for the class. Thank you for this. This, as some would say, download.
I'm glad you're speechless. That's a good sign.
But no, seriously, that was awesome. Yeah. Thanks for your time.
Cool. Sounds good. Thanks.
I want to make a special thanks to PrimeMyBody, especially Paul Rogers, Austin Tice, JT, not in that order. I'd put them all as one. But anyway, seriously, I want to thank them and everybody there for what they are doing at PrimeMyBody. Seriously, some of the best products in the world when it comes to hemp, when it comes to plant-based nutrition. From their Prime Protein Superfood, full of amazingness, and it's super good for you. It doesn't have any of that junk, to their Recept, the CBD, CBG, to the Calm, to the nitric oxide, NOx product. I love everything that they're doing. So if you're interested, absolutely take a look into them. I have a link below. check it out, and we can get you some really great discounts and show how you can become a part of this hemp revolution, and seriously just be a part of some amazing things going on at PrimeMyBody. So I want to give a special thanks to them. Also want to kind of put in a little plug here. I have a marketing company. It's called The Lifestyle Media. Also, that's where a lot of the media goes on, but I have a marketing agency called FitterDocs. And whether that's like digital advertising, social media, Instagram TV is a big thing, whatever they may look like, we are here to serve. We are here to help you and take your business to the next level, whether that's advertising, branding, or just strategy, having some strategy sessions and talking about, hey, how can we take opportunity online? How can we take this huge opportunity online and just propel your business, propel your brand, prepare who you are, your vision, your statement. That's what we're really all about. It's a real servant-based culture, servant-based company, and obviously I can say that, and I may be a little biased because it's mine, but at the end of the day, that's really why I started the company. So wanted to throw a little plug in there as well. But again, special thanks to everybody here, and I appreciate you for taking obviously a look if you're watching me on YouTube, Instagram, or listening on the podcast. So thanks again. Awesome. Hey everybody, welcome to the Trey Angle. My name is Trey Martinez. I'm super excited to be the host and be here in general to be able to give you insights, a lot of tips, and what I call the little angles to help you overcome, help you get that edge in whatever you're doing. And it's not just going to be me, it's going to be a lot of amazing people that I get to have the blessing to speak with and learn from. And I want to be able to share that with you, be able for you to also get these insights and do it in whatever you're doing. Add these different angles into what you do, whether that's business or pleasure. And I'm telling you, we're going to be hearing from a lot of amazing people. And for me, this is a blessing to be able to learn, number one, because I think the learning doesn't end in the classroom. It's every single day what we can do to become better, to serve more. And for me, that's just a blessing to be able to do this and give you that value as well. So again, welcome to the Trey Angle, and follow on social media, share this with your friends and anybody who you want to become better, who you care for. That's what this is about, for us to, as a community, as a collective, to all give more, become more, open up our hearts more, and maybe do something that we're uncomfortable, maybe overcome those fears, or whether that's just something in your personal life or business, just becoming a better person and using these strategies in your life. So again, super blessed to be here. This is Trey from the Trey Angle.